We got to talk about the other move the Guardians made after a quick word from FanDuel. March Madness is here, guys, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can bet $200 and get $200 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. That is $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. You can even pick who's going to cut down the nets when it's all said and done. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and get in on all the college hoops action all tournament long. We talked about the Bybee extension. We talked about the starting rotation, but the Guardians also made a trade for a potential power bat in the outfield. The Guardians sent Tyler Freeman to the Colorado Rockies in exchange for an old friend, Nolan Jones, coming back to the Cleveland Guardians. He had a great season in 23, a disappointing season in 24. Bull, how do you see Nolan Jones fitting into the Guards' plans in 25?
Guys, it's not often that the best day in an off season for a baseball team is on March 22nd, just a few days before the start of the season. But that's exactly what it was. The entire off season has been uninspiring from the Cleveland Guardians for the most part. But Saturday was a great day. We already talked about the Tanner Bybee contract extension. Listen, who knows how it's going to pan out? Baseball is an unpredictable sport. But I absolutely love this trade of Tyler Freeman for Nolan Jones because while Nolan Jones is a boom or bust type player, he could be nothing, but he could be great. I think the upside on Nolan Jones, in my opinion, is way higher than Tyler Freeman. I think every time you make a trade with the Rockies, you usually win. They are probably the worst organization in all of baseball. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They stink. They just sent their bet. They made this trade because I thought they were going to start Zach Veen, one of their best hitting prospects in the outfield. Instead, they're going to be starting a journeyman 32-year-old by the name of Nick Martini in the outfield, who's a complete nothing. So they don't know what they're doing. They traded for Nolan Jones 2 years ago. It was actually a good, a smart move. He had a great season in 2023. I mean, he finished fifth in the Rookie of the Year. Now, last year he was hurt for most of the season. He didn't play well when he wasn't hurt, but I think the injury factored into his entire season. But in 2023, he had 20 homers. He stole 20 bases. Look at his OPS, 931. Hit for a great average. Played a very good defense. He's got a cannon for an arm. And Nolan Jones his upside is all-star. His upside is all-star. I'm not saying he's going to get there. I'm just saying you have a team that had no legitimate right fielder, in my opinion, who has very little power on paper, and you got a guy who, I don't think it's crazy, he can even lead the team in homers. I don't think he will. I wouldn't predict that. But it's not crazy.
Who's his competition outside of Jose?
That's it. Yeah. I mean, Santana, but
nobody else is a sure thing for 20.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like, it's not that outrageous.
That's what I'm saying.
Homers.
Like, if you told me Nolan Jones hit, and by the way, Nolan Jones I'm not a huge platoon guy. However, Nolan
stealing my text over here.
yeah.
You said that, yeah. Chat. Nolan Jones and John Kenzie are a perfect combo because you might get 50 home runs between them. That's pushing it, but I don't think it's impossible that they could hit 50 home runs. Certainly 40 is very doable.
I'll give you 40.
But I'm saying things go really well.
Yeah.
You could get 50 out of that. And unlike John Kenzie, who's got massive holes in his swing, obviously he has tons of power when he makes contact. But Nolan Jones has a good eye at the plate. He strikes out, but not at a ridiculous rate. Like he
does strike out a lot.
No. If you look at his his strikeout numbers aren't crazy.
Okay, then I'm misremembering.
Go ahead.
When he was here, he was a...
but he barely played here in the majors.
No, I know, but I mean, even after I followed, when he moved, everybody made such a big deal, like, wow, the Guardians screwed that one up. And I watched him a few times, and I'm like, maybe it was just the times I watched him. I watched him one day, I think he was 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts.
Listen, in this modern major leagues, everybody strikes out a decent amount. But he doesn't have the swing and miss.
Bull, what's a good K? I have his K rate here on Fangraphs.
K rate, I don't know if it's
no. Well,
30% is horrendous.
30% is awful. You don't want to be at 30%.
Well, he's 33, 29.7, 30.6.
That's what I thought. He swings and misses a lot, Bull.
He has had a lot of struggles against lefties throughout his career.
Yeah.
Particularly in the minors.
But
wait a minute. I don't think his splits are that awful.
You know, they were in the minors.
No, look at them last year. Look at them last 2 years.
His splits, by the way, home road for his great season in 2023 with Colorado, his numbers were just as good, if not better, on the road.
You know how I know that?
Yeah.
Is because I remember thinking about halfway through that season, he's stockpiling home runs at mile high, in thin air.
Yeah.
And I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, geez, no, he's not. He's hitting just as many home runs on the road as he is at home, which was impressive to me.
Right.
It wasn't just the air.
He gets on base. Go ahead.
I got your splits real quick.
Yeah.
But in 23, he had 13 homers against righties, 7 against lefties.
And you'd expect there to be.
But he probably played a lot more against righties.
294 plate appearance against righties for only 130.
So it's actually
it's
a better
almost
rate against
per at
lefties.
bat. He's hitting more home runs righty.
He had a higher batting average against lefties by
see his splits,
26 points.
That's not bad.
OPS was a little lower.
Coming up through the minors, and I think part of the Cleveland's concerns when they moved him was his struggles against left-handers throughout the minors. Now
he's fixed that clearly based on those numbers.
His strikeout rate is what it is, but I think he can bring it down because he has a good feel for the strike zone. He walks a lot. What was his on base percentage, Mike, in 23?
In 23, on base. In 23 was 389.
That's elite.
That's good.
389
what about
on base.
Last year, though?
Last year, now granted, he didn't play a ton last year.
No, I know.
Dropped to 321.
Okay, see, Bull, I think you're right on that.
Yeah.
You remember who was the long Bradley for the tall
Bobby Bradley.
No.
Milton.
Bradley Zimmer.
Oh, Bradley Zimmer, yeah.
A pro scout told me when I was always like Bradley Zimmer's going to be an MVP.
Yeah.
I just was intoxicated with his skill set.
Yeah.
He goes, no, he's not. He's got holes all over his swing. His arms are too long, and that kind of that came out to be true.
Yeah.
What is he? In my mind, he's like a 6'4" or 6'5" guy. He's a big guy.
Nolan?
Yeah. He's
I don't
big.
know
He's
big.
listed on Pro Baseball Reference at 6'5",
That's what I thought.
195.
So my fear is that maybe he can't lower that swing rate. He does have natural holes in his swing because of his arms. But here's the interesting thing about what you said about coming out of the minors. Think about how the Guardians have changed their view on hitting since Vogt came. Remember last year, what was the number one point of emphasis at spring training? It's okay, swing and miss.
That's right.
So I think where they were using the metric 2 years before, no, we do not like swing and miss. We don't like it. We don't like it. You got to put the ball in play. And that would be a reason to then trade Nolan Jones. And then Nolan Jones had almost a rookie of the year type season, and their philosophy has since changed. Swing for the fences, baby. If you miss, you miss. He fits in more now with this team.
I don't think that was a vote thing. I think it's an organizational thing.
No, I do too. Yeah. It coincided with Vogt's arrival because I do think they're setting the point on the horizon in the front office.
Bazana fits this as well as another middle infielder, but I do wonder if they're starting to move away from just stockpiling middle. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't.
No.
Who has panned out? Now,
and you've got Arias and you've got Schneemann. Why would you even need Freeman?
And that's why I think I think Tyler Freeman will be an okay major league player. Yeah. He'll play every day in Colorado. He'll hit 280, 290. He's not going to hit for a lot of power.
Homers.
Yeah. He's fine.
Yeah.
He'll fill a need and he's fine. I agree. I think upside, Nolan is an everyday player. Worst case scenario, I think he's a huge upgrade over Will Brennan. I'm not a Will Brennan fan. I don't think Will Brennan needs to be in the lineup every day. He's a fourth outfielder. He is who he is.
Where's he go now?
I don't think they may trade him. I don't know.
And they had told him already, you're on the roster. But I don't see how you keep him now.
Maybe they do just to start the season and then eventually move on.
There's no real role
there
for
really
him.
isn't.
Does he have an option left?
I don't know if he has an option.
I don't remember.
But I like the pairing of Nolan and Noel as a platoon. I'm with you. I hate platoons. It feels like splitting quarterbacks. If you got two, you don't have one.
Yeah, but it's right field. And
if it works, like I think Noel can pound lefties, and I think Nolan can hit righties. And if Nolan proves that his rookie year wasn't a fluke and he can consistently hit lefties, if he can evolve like Josh Naylor did, you have an everyday right fielder who's actually very athletic. He came up as a third baseman, so you could probably move him around.
Sure.
First base, if you have a need there, you wouldn't think you wouldn't with Manzardo long term, but you never know. So I think you can move Nolan around a little bit. And
he's big enough to do it.
There is enough. The Guardians, I believe, regretted that trade almost instantly.
Yeah, they did.
That they made it. And I talked to people, I had a conversation with somebody at spring training last year who said, we can't miss like we've missed on Nolan. We can't have those mistakes to where he was a second-round pick. They spent 4 years or whatever the number of years was developing in their organization.
And then they kissed him off.
And then he goes off and
Well, and they never really gave him a
elsewhere.
chance.
No.
He barely played for
and
them.
Part of that
Yeah.
was because of, we've talked about, I mean, how many years did we spend, I don't know if it was on the show, but for years, Zach and I wrote about the 40-man roster crunch because they have all these prospects and they never made a trade and they never unhinged the bottleneck. So they had all these guys that they had to fit or else they were going to lose them to the Rule 5 draft.
Yeah.
So they had to make decisions on guys a lot quicker than they did before. Who is the guy that, now I'm drawing a blank, they kept him way too long. The first baseman from the Rays. Got him in a trade.
Oh, Jake Bowers.
Yeah.
How long did Bowers hang around?
Yep.
And they kept trying. And
Yeah,
they kept
no.
trying. But with a guy like Nolan Jones, they had to move fast.
Yeah.
Because there's prospects coming up behind him. So
Right.
you have to make decisions
Yeah.
on guys faster than they did previously, and they missed. And they knew they missed almost immediately. And that's why I think that they were shocked that they were able to get him back. I
Yeah.
joke with Zach.
Love it.
Hey, can they trade Schneemann now and get Caminero back from Tampa? Like,
Undo their
can we
past
start
sins.
undoing
Maybe,
all the?
Yeah.
They don't make many mistakes.
No,
Yadier
I know they
Diaz, the catcher with the Astros.
Yeah, right? Go-
Yeah,
Can
but
you make a move to go
here's
get
the
him
thing
back?
about this. I like the move. I think it's
Yeah.
a great move. I do think Jones is closer to the player he was in 23 than what we saw last year.
I agree.
Yeah.
And they're banking on it that he
Yeah.
is. What's fascinating to me, though, is they could possibly there's a scenario where they miss on him twice. They gave up on him too soon,
Yeah.
and they thought there was more left when they brought him back.
Yeah. You never know.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
I do think it's so hard for platoon guys because what do when you go to a new team? You're walking in the locker room, the first thing you want to show the clubhouse is that you belong. If you get limited at bats or you're only playing every third day or maybe, whatever it shakes out to be,
Right.
it's really hard to get into that everyday rhythm.
Yep.
And I like Noel a lot, but only in certain situations, and I like Jones a lot. I like Jones more of the two versus lefties and righties. I think that his splits are close enough to where, like, hell, his home run per at-bat ratio was better.
I would give him a chance for sure.
Yeah.
I think throughout his career, I think he's got,
Yeah.
I looked it up earlier, I think he's got 25 career home runs, 17 against lefties. Against righties. Yeah, against righties.
Yeah, but he's got half the at-bats against...
he's young enough, and there's enough there. I would like to see him play against lefties.
It's only 26.
Yeah.
And have the opportunity to establish himself as an everyday player. And then if it doesn't work, then you can platoon him. But I think the upside on Nolan Jones is way higher than it is
But
on
see, the only
Jackenzie
bad thing
Noel.
about the everyday thing is, too, then you got Noel sitting there.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there's a chance Carlos
becomes the
Santana
DH.
goes off the cliff
Yes,
this year.
Absolutely.
And Noel
And
becomes
then
the
Manzardo's
DH.
playing first base, Noel's DHing.
Right.
And
Jones
Nolan Jones is
is-
playing right field every day.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
I think that's a good lineup,
That's
provided
possible.
that Noel can be effective against pitchers, lefty and righty. One thing before we go, I know we
Yeah.
want to move off this in 20, and I think we've probably talked the topic out. We all like the move.
Yeah.
I read this yesterday, and I wanted to throw this out to you guys because I was fascinated by it. Major League Baseball has been around 150 years, a little more.
Yeah.
How many Major League stadiums do you think you could fill with every single player that's ever played professional Major League Baseball?
Gosh.
Just take a
can't
guess.
remember.
How many stadiums do you think you'd fill?
With every player.
Yeah, now it's 150 years.
Right. I think I knew the number, and now I can't remember.
I'm trying to do quick math.
Yeah.
I'm going to say...
And the average stadium, and say it's 40,000.
40,000.
Yeah, so
I'm going to
average
say 22 stadiums.
22 stadiums?
Yeah.
What do you think, without doing any real digging? He's got his calculator out.
Yeah, but I hate making these guesses because
Yeah,
it's so
it's
wildly
way off,
wroong.
yeah.
But that's the fun of it.
Go ahead.
Bull just threw a number out.
I said 22.
22 Major
said
League
20.
stadiums.
I'll say 25.
Okay, I would have said 10. Cleveland's Progressive Field is the smallest capacity in all of the big leagues. It's hold 37,000.
Yeah.
It would only be 61% full if you put every single player
What?
that's played a Major League game, even if it was only one game.
There's only 20,000 players?
22,000 men can say
That's insane.
I was a professional Major League Baseball player.
That
Bill,
seems
that was my
insanely
reaction.
low.
My reaction is
We
that
were crazy
is
guy.
astonishing to me. And here's why I bring that up. I've always hated. Look, if you want to
just confirmed.
boo.
Jay is right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nuts. I've always been a fan of, fans have the right. Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
You want to boo, that's fine. However, there are levels to it. What drives me more crazy than I think maybe anything in all of sports is when I go to a game and I'm sitting next to a guy that probably played Little League Baseball, and that's as far as he went.
Yeah.
And he's yelling at either one of his team's players or the opposing team's player, "You're a bum! You suck!"
Boy, you've never done that. You've never gone to a game and yelled,
Never.
that guy is a bum.
I say it in my living room a lot.
I was harassing
But
Tom Brudansky once at Fenway Park.
I love Tom Brudansky.
By the way, last thing.
22,000 Major
It's
League Baseball
nuts.
players in the history of 150 years of the game.
30 seconds here, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Can you imagine, again, we talked about the upside of what the pitching staff could look like in September. Let me take you to the summer of 2026. It's a long way ahead, and there's a whole lot of ifs here. But you could potentially be looking at this. This could be exciting, right?
Yeah.
Kyle Manzardo at first. Brian Rocchio coming around at short. Bo Naylor developing a catcher. Not sure.
Bazzana
at second. Jose at third. Quan in left. Nolan Jones in right. And what's his
Mystery
name?
player X in center.
DeLauder's not really a center
Yeah.
fielder, but I'm going to throw him in center field.
Got to put him
Quan
somewhere.
can play center.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put Quan in center and DeLauder in left.
DeLauder-
There's a lot of potential there.
DeLauder
There's
can't
a lot
stay
of
healthy long
potential.
enough.
That's a lot of ifs, but
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
all right, Mike.